And what a day it turned out to be on D Street yesterday. We conquered that coveted level of 21,500 for the first time. Shut shop just a smidge below that level, with heavyweights really playing a solid role. Reliance Industries, incidentally, was one of the biggest contributors. And although it might have been a slow move, it was a clear upward bias, and the markets managed to hold on to those levels. So yesterday you'd had support coming in from the FMCG basket. You had the Nifty Metals Index that snapped its 6-day gaining streak, and the mid and the small cap indices were in profit booking mode. So Nikunj, I guess that story of the tortoise and the hare really holds true, because we have managed to make it to that mark slowly and steadily.
And we're holding there. The interesting bit is that even though markets on every yardstick, they are looking stretched, we've not had real great flows in last 2 days. Global cues have been slightly sticky. At best, you would say neutral. Markets are holding on. The shallow dips, even if they're intraday, that has also been, that also in a sense is inviting some new buyers. And that is the nature of the market, that everyone is on the sidelines waiting for a shallow decline, either to initiate a long or to add fresh positions. While we may argue about market being expensive, technicals being overstretched, but market positioning in a sense is clearly indicating that even in last 2 days flows have not been strong. This market is still holding steady. So it's no longer this one trick pony. That's one good news about the market, that only its FIs were driving the market. Second, what do you expect now as the year unwinds? Well, frankly, the markets will get into holiday mode now. Next week it's a truncated week. Typically the last few trading days, in a sense, shutter down for global institutional investors. So I'm glad that markets are holding on despite FI flows. I think rather than last week expiry, a lot of action automatically will shift this week. So it would be interesting to see that how markets now move in next 2-3 days, given that next week in a sense would be the last trading week, which also has a holiday and which also coincides with an FNO expiry.
Okay, yes, indeed. And just to give you a sense as to what the global check-in is like, we did see Wall Street's benchmark indices rising. It was approaching their record highs, as you did have the Federal Reserve's recent dovish shift as well on rates. And that, I think, really bolstered sentiment the board. So it was a pretty smart move on Wall Street. This morning, the Asian markets as well rising in tandem with the what we witnessed on Wall Street. Japanese stocks in particular have extended their gains on the back of the monetary policy decision. But just speaking about sentiment back home as well, in light of the fact, Nikunj, that you alluded to, that it's expiry as well. And as of now, given that we're setting the stage for the holiday season, it seems that this buying on shallow declines, that is what really is continuing. And what's the expectation ahead of expiry?
See, I expect markets to really be very range bound, and I don't expect any large fireworks even in mid and small cap stocks, because frankly, there is no calendar event. Whatever you had to get in terms of global cues, you pretty much know where the setup is. The fact that FIs are back, that narrative is known. So I think you may make a case that next couple of days could really be a upward bias, but in terms of a directional move, it's difficult to make a case for a strong 1,000-point plus kind of a nifty rally. The best gains for the month of December in percentage terms, I think they are behind us, given that there is going to be this holiday season effect which would be at play. We don't have a Monday next week because it's Christmas, and then you pretty much will see markets, and then there's an FNO expiry after that. So I don't think you actually would see anything large in terms of a market move or market action. But the good thing for me is that last 2 days FIs were not there, and even though they were not there, the market has held on beautifully. So this entire thesis that it's only FIs who are driving the market, that in a sense is, I'm not saying it's getting challenged, but that's not the only trick in the town.
Yeah, and I think, we can't be so hung up on looking at the FI figure, or for that matter, the Nifty is consolidating, because look what's happening outside the index. Look at the block deals, the QIPs, the IPO market. There's so much money chugging along there.
So I'll address let's the IPO market, and just about everyone is now in a sense looking at the IPO market and saying, okay, It's like a carnival in the IPO market, and so many IPOs which are coming. And typically, when IPOs come and when you got this crazy subscription numbers, is there a madness in the IPO market? And if there is madness in the IPO market, is it time now to really raise your ante and say that historically, when that has happened, that's a concern? But hold on, stay with this graphic. 2021, the number of issues, and this is post-COVID, this is not once upon a time. Post-COVID, in 2021, the number of IPOs, and I'm talking about absolute number here, in 2023 is actually lower than 2021. Now, 2 weeks are still left, but I don't think any big IPOs are going to be coming in at the last week.
I didn't realize there were 63 IPOs already.
Exactly, but then quantum.
Yeah.
See, ultimately
Small
what matters
ones.
is quantum. So 2021 was bigger or 2023 is bigger? What is your guess?
I mean, the current year, obviously. Look at the size of the IPOs.
Now let's look at the data.
Yeah.
Guys, fire the data. It's only when I looked at the data yesterday. There you go, ladies. 2021, the IPO market raised 1 lakh crore. 2000, that was my reaction, wow.
Yeah.
See, that included an LIC and that included some big IPOs. So you may talk about the frenzy in the IPO market. You may talk about every morning we have a headline which says 3 IPOs opening, 2 IPOs listing, 2 IPOs in the corner. But in terms of the number, lower than last year, lower than 2021. In terms of quantum, much lower than 2021.
That's real trivia.
That's
I know you're going to quiz everyone who comes on the channel.
no, it's only when I look at the
for
data.
sure.
It's only when I look at the data you realize the data. I mean, Soumit's compiled this data. We are looking at this data, and for me, this is perhaps the biggest indicator of what the market perceives and what the reality is. So there is no bubble and trouble in the IPO market, guys. IPO market also, the dynamics have changed. The crazy subscription numbers are because the IPO market is only 3 days.
Yeah.
So, a lot has changed there. So we've used this like a canary in a coal mine. Okay, IPO market madness, market top. Aisa nahi hai. The data is telling you a completely different story. In fact, we are lower than 2017.
Well, actually, you had Zomato, Nykaa, the entire class of 21 listing.
So data is
back then.
data.
Yeah.
So data is data. You had LIC.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm saying ultimately that's the number which matters, the quantum. And on top of that, there is inflation and then earnings. So in fact, ideally the number should have been way above 1 lakh for me to use the word. There was Zomato, there was Paytm, there was Nykaa, there was Policy
Everything
Bazaar,
tech,
everything
yeah,
bunched up
all of
together.
them.
And there was LIC.
Yeah. And, also looking at the QIP numbers, they though are the highest since 2017.
See, QIP is a different kettle of fish altogether. I mean, the QIP happens is because in QIP the money actually goes in the company, and this is not where retail participation is there. This is where institutional participation is there. So, in terms of an instrument, it's a very different instrument. In terms of the promoter block deals, of course, it's much higher.
Yeah.
So, I don't think QIP is a trend indicator of the real excitement or real madness. We are trying to say that IPO market always
No, it's not. But I'm just talking about participation in
Yes,
the market.
of course.
Yeah.
Because, companies are raising capital. Banks are raising capital.
Yeah.
Companies are raising capital. And typically when companies raise capital, you would always say that, look, the money goes in the company and then money would be utilized for growth capital. But IPO market, when you look at the data and you say, okay, hold on. It is no madness in the IPO market. That the madness was what happened in 21. Zomato, Paytm, Nykaa, that everything came together in a matter of 3 months.
Yeah, absolutely.